It is truly my honor to welcome this amazing educator. Ranjitsinh is the 2020 winner of the Global Teaching Prize, considered the Nobel Prize for teaching. No easy feat, given how many educators there are in the world. So you must have really changed the world around you, Ranjit. So thank you for being with us today. So originally, you started out as an engineer. But quickly and thankfully for the children that you've impacted, you transitioned into becoming a teacher. The first school that you taught at was in a dilapidated building sandwiched between a cattle shed and a storeroom. And most of the girls that you were teaching were from a tribal community that didn't prioritize girls' education. And the practice of teenage marriage amongst those girls was very common. Additionally, the curriculum that you were focusing on was not in the students' primary language, which was Kannada, which meant that many students were unable to achieve expected learning outcomes. So after putting a lot of effort into learning their language, you redesigned all the textbooks for grades 1 through 4 so that they could better absorb the content. And then you added to that some of that technical background by adding QR codes so that you were able to embed audio poems, video lectures, stories, and assignments in their language. And as a result of all of that, the school that you were teaching at was awarded the best school for the district in 2016, with 98% of students achieving their expected learning outcomes before completing the school year. So again, truly proud to welcome you as one of our feature educators. And I now hand the floor over to you.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much for introducing me. I'm so much happy and excited to be here. My name is Ranjit, and I'm a teacher in Jila Parishad Primary School here in Maharashtra. And today I'm going to share my journey, how I changed life of girls in my school. So let me just try to start my presentation just by sharing. Just let me know whether my screen is shared.
We see it.
Okay, great. Thank you. So just, before I begin my journey, just take a look at this picture or this image. So this image represents the number of students in India. And now these 5% students have never gone to school. They haven't seen their classroom. This around 45 to 50% students have gone to school, but they haven't completed their education. They just have completed till grade 4. This portion, around 60 to 70% or 80%, have completed their education till grade 10. And the remaining percentage or the portion have completed their education till grade 12 or onwards. So this is the scenario of Indian education system. What I'm trying to tell you here is that if 100 students being enrolled at grade 1, only 12 students could reach out to the universities. Rest of them being dropped out. There are so many reasons. But how I can stop this and I can ensure that everyone is attending, learning, and enjoying? Let me just tell you the truth. The truth is that the 21st century kids are being taught by 20th century adults using 19th century curriculum and techniques on an 18th century calendar. Is it true? You can just write your response in the chat box, but I think it's a true. This generation of 21st century needs teachers of 21st century. With our style of learning, our style of teaching, it's completely different, and their style of learning is something unique. So we need to cope up with. But how? Let me just share. In 2009, I have been appointed as a teacher in Jila Parishad Primary School, Paritewadi. Paritewadi is a very small village in rural part of India, in Maharashtra basically. So just to give you the glimpse of village, it's in a drought-prone area. Most of the community members are farmers. Girls' education was not given priority. Even my classroom, I still remember my day one, 5th of January in 2009. And I just went there and I saw this classroom being surrounded or sandwiched between a cow shed and storeroom. It was just shocking to me. I never imagined a classroom in 2020 or in 21st century such a good like this. But I never gave up. I had developed such a system in last 12 years. My classroom being turned out from cowshed to QR code. Let me just share you my journey. When I went there and saw that parents' indifference towards education, because even my classroom was sandwiched between those cowshed and storeroom and other things. But the strange thing was that parents were not complaining about the status. And why they were doing that? Because they were completely unaware of the importance of education. So it took around 6 months for me to get back my classroom. So once I have my classroom, I set up three targets before me and I made a plan of action for 5 years. These targets were changing the indifference of parents towards education. Second one was ensuring 100% attendance. And third was improving academic performance of my students. To achieve these targets, I started to interact with students, initiated a few initiatives like community engagement program, alarm on, TV off, QR coded textbooks, then virtual field trips, and let's cross the borders. So I'll be talking about all these initiatives one by one. Let's just go through this sentence. Technology will not replace great teachers. But technology in hands of great teachers, it's truly transformational. If you want to become a teacher of 21st century, you should have comfort zone, you should have that proficiency in technology. How do we use it? The first thing what I did, I started engaging with parents. I started living in Paritibadi. I shifted from my native place, Pashi, to Paritibadi and started engaging with parents, having informal interactions. Why they were not sending their kids to the classrooms, to the schools. And after having informal interactions, I came to know that why they didn't believe just because they thought investing in education is waste of time and waste of money. Like they have seen some students, there are some elders being educated, but still they were farming. So they just directly link education with the employability. So I started inviting some girls nearby villages. The girls were, sharing their experiences, how education has changed their life, what are the benefits of it, and how others could do it. At the end of every session of a community engagement program, I used to ask a very simple question to each and every parent. Do you want your kids, your daughters to become like her or leave it as it is? Choice is yours. That was the trigger point. Every parent thought, oh my God, I want my kids or my daughter to become like her. Ranjit, tell us a solution. And I was saying that. Very simple. Just send your kids to my classroom. And I made it very colorful, very, interesting for them. Once that ensure that everyone is attending, coming to schools, so in between, I bought a laptop, brand new laptop. At that time, electricity was not there. It was very hardest time. So I was just charging my laptop and taking it to the classroom. So I was not teaching to them. I was just showing them movies. We were watching movies, dancing, singing, everything was happening. Students were coming to school, watching movies, dancing, singing, having a lunch, and then going back. So once they went back to home, they were sharing their experiences. with their friends. Oh, today we have watched this movie. What a fantastic fighting was there, romance and all the things. So those students who were not coming to school, they were thinking, oh, my friend is enjoying. What I'm doing, I'm just lending helping hand to my parents. Now it's better to go to school. And then they were coming back to school. So this is how I ensured every single student is attending classroom. And to ensure that parents could be actively participated in teaching learning process, I set up an alarm on schools building. And this initiative been named as alarm on TV off. It means the alarm which was set on the school's building, it goes rings at 7 p.m. every night. And this was an indication for parents. Now stop working whatever you're doing. Now sit together with your kids. Help him to complete his homework. Ask him what happened in the classroom. Ask him what he did. So it's just like, creating that environment, awareness among the parents. But as they were illiterate, they didn't know how to support their kids. I was sending a text messages on their mobile devices in the afternoon. The text message was just an instructions for parents. This is what you are expected to do at night. So accordingly, they were planning their work. So this is how I ensure that parents are actively participating, students are also there, and teachers. Education system, if you want education system to be succeed, you should have the collective efforts of parents, students, and teachers. This alarm on TV off initiative is still going on, and it has created a buzz, so much excitement and awareness among the parents. So I then later on, once I ensured the parents are actively participated, students are coming to school. Now I was not showing them the movies or videos. In the meanwhile, I have recorded my own video lessons, and I was just showing them using my laptop. The students, those who were, lagging behind, they used to see it repetitively. In my classroom, in the same room, I have to teach third and fourth graders together. It's a very complex job. Like, just imagine 30 students from grade third and 12 from fourth grade sitting in the same room, and you are a single teacher teaching to both of them. It's very difficult and complex job for me. But using the technology, when one class is watching videos, I was teaching to another classroom. And I was showing them some very basic videos, PowerPoint presentations, the stuff that I have, digital content, you may call it. In the meanwhile, I used to share that digital content with parents as well. They had those mobile devices. So I was just using the Bluetooth technology, sometimes memory card or the data storage devices. I used to send it through that. But I was facing some problems like, sometimes file format were not supported by mobile devices. Sometimes data get corrupted. So what could be the better solution? So one day when I went in a shop and there I saw that shopkeeper has scanned a QR code and the entire information was displayed on a machine. And there I came to know it's very unique idea. I thought of it how I can embed that in my class, in my textbook. So firstly, I created 27 different QR codes for my grade 4 students. Pasted those QR codes on their textbooks. The digital content that I created for them was embedded in the QR codes. Now it's students' responsibility or the parents' responsibility. If you want to learn, relearn, unlearn, just scan a QR code and access the digital content well curated for themselves. These QR coded texts will help my students to learn at their own pace, learn, revise, and relearn. Another thing here I would like to mention that these QR coded textbooks were customized considering the style of my students. For example, mine style of is different and Braden's or the Robert's style of learning is different. Robert, if he has to scan a QR code in his book, he might get different digital content. And if I scan the same QR code in my textbook, I might have to watch different digital content because my style is very different from others. So this is how I ensure that everyone is learning with their style of teaching, learning as well. These QR coded textbooks have helped millions of students in India during the pandemic. When the schools were closed, but the students in our government schools were using this QR coded textbook and continuing their education. Thanks to the government of Maharashtra and India because they have accepted my proposal of scaling work this idea and it helped us a lot during the pandemic. Once I assured that students are learning, enjoy it, then I introduced very unique concept of virtual field trips. Virtual field trips means what? It's just about without leaving a classroom, you can travel across the world. Right now, we are, using video conferencing softwares, open source softwares, and we are just chatting with each other. You're listening to my thoughts, my speech. In the same manner, I used to do the virtual field trips with seven wonders of the world. We have watched Eiffel Tower. We have seen uh, Taj Mahal. So how I do this? So I used to connect with teachers who is living nearby these historical monuments. I used to call him over the Skype, and straight away I will give him a call. And through the video call, my students used to see that monument, ask them questions, and learn from the expert. Because I have to teach all the subject, but it doesn't mean that I'm the expert of all the topic and all the subject. But it gives my students an opportunity to learn from the expert. And virtual field trips, let me just tell you here that we have traveled more than 78 different countries in last 6 or 7 years. Our students have their small passport. They make a note of it from which place, where we have been, what are the new words we have learned. So it's like maintaining record of your learning. So virtual field trips is adding fun element to my teaching. And then later on, before we it comes to our conclusion on the question and answer, here I would like to mention about my ongoing project called Let's Cross the Borders. So world has become more and more there are so many conflict zones are being emerging. How we can make this world much better place, much peaceful. So in 2016 or 17, I was reading, what you can say, Global Peace Index, and there I saw that six countries in the world, like India, Pakistan, Israel, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, they have spent trillions of dollars for fighting, and still they are not finding any better solution. So I thought if these countries would have invested just half of the money in education, the results might have been different. And keeping that in mind, I initiated a project called Let's Cross the Borders, where I invite entries from India, Pakistan, Israel, Palestine, Iraq, Iran, and across the world. And students used to connect with their counterparts from the different countries. And in the first week, we allot them the peace buddies, like Indian students having their peace buddies from Pakistan, because these countries so have some sort of, tense situation always on the border. In the second week, students are expected to come up with the answers like, "Why are we fighting? Why these Indians are fighting with Pakistanis for last 75 years?" Students come up with their answers. Then I ask them to find similarities and differences between these countries. In fourth week, We read a para from the book Hit to Refresh. In the 5th week, we invite guest speakers from most peaceful countries like New Zealand, Finland, and they used to share their experiences, like how their country become most peaceful, what are the benefits of it, and how we can learn from them. And at the last, it's up to my students what next, what they're going to do next, whether they want to continue their friendship, they want to stop. So this is the whole I just carrying out this project. This runs for 6 weeks, and those students who being part of our project, we call them as a members or the soldiers of our peace army. So currently our peace army having has around 18,000 students at the peace army soldiers, and I'm aiming to have the peace army of around 50,000 students by 2030, where we'll be what you can say achieving the sustainable development goals, because this project is also based on sustainable development goal number 16, that is about peace. So this is what I'm doing right now. This is what I did in the past. I hope you have some sort of mm, information or something that I inspired you a lot. If you have any questions to ask me, feel free to call or just talk me now.
Thank you so much, Ranjitsinh. That was a really, really interesting and I think a really great example of kind of the passion and dedication that educators have, such as yourself. I think you really epitomized that. And I think that's something that's really often overlooked. And so I just want to say, a big thank you so much for your participation and for your presentation. We encourage everybody, as always, if you have a question, to go ahead and pose that into the public chat. I'm sure Ranjitsinh has some time to stick around and answer a couple of questions that you may have. We've also posted the link to the next session, which is with Pashtana Durrani, for those of you who are interested in going to the next session. But we'll leave this room open for those who may want to stick around, ask a few things, or have a discussion. And so thank you again, Ranjitsinh. That was really awesome.
Yeah, I'm very much happy that you liked it.
Maybe what we'll do is, Ranjit, if you don't mind just sticking around maybe for a minute or so, just see if there's any questions. And if not, we really invite you, Ranjitsinh, if you want to come check out some of the other presentations that are going on. I know it's a bit late on your end though, but the invitation obviously is open. Thanks again.
I think I haven't seen any questions. Thank you, Johnny. Deboho, thank you for your comment. I'm so much happy. Shitu is saying thank you, Ranjitsinh. Thank you. It's a late night here, but I enjoyed talking to you. I hope you gained some sort of knowledge and it's inspired you a lot. Feel free to reach out to me on my Twitter or Insta or anywhere. I'll be more than happy to help you and support you anytime.
I've just gone ahead and I've thrown in Ranjitsinh's Twitter there into the public chat for anybody who's interested in reaching out and making contact.
I'm just putting out my Twitter here.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stop the recordings, but these are going to be, as they are recorded, they'll be uploaded and available after the conference. And so we'll see you guys in the next session. Thank you.